Welcome into TexAgs Rewind, presented by T-Mobile, a great partner of ours here on the show. And they want to remind you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn more how you can get value and coverage here with T-Mobile. All right, Friday's show, that means Liucci stopped by. It was a great show. Jim Schlossnagle also stopped by the program, talked a little baseball. Bronny was with us on it. We did bank on it, and I'm banking on some Aggies next year being also on that all-SEC freshman team. I said it was 5 this year, 5 in 2018. I'm saying at least 3 more next year. And, of course, around Aggieland with Richard Zane, it is TexAgs Rewind. I don't know why I said it like that. TexAgs Rewind. That's what we are. OB, what can we bank on?
You know, I'm banking on the Texas A&M basketball team avenging that horrific loss up in Fort Worth last year to TCU. I'm going to be heading over to Houston tomorrow, and I'm thinking those Aggies are a much better basketball team than they were last year, and they're on a roll. And I'm banking on them getting a win over the Horny Frogs.
I like the way you think.
Horny Toads.
This bank on it is for Bronny. I want his eye contact to let me know if I'm on the right track. Bank on at least 3 more freshmen next year being on the all-SEC team. All right? At least 3. We had 5 this year, 5 in 2018. Okay?
So 8? Oh, you're saying
3 more.
3 more.
Potentially more. I mean,
3 more than they had this year.
There's already a lot of young talent on the roster right now. But I'm just saying, potentially Walter Nolan, Evan Stewart, Brownlow Dindy, these are all guys that I think could contribute right away, especially Evan Stewart. So I think we could have 3 more on there. What do you think?
That's a good guess. I think those positions you mentioned, too, are going to see some attrition in the offseason. Obviously, we know what the D-line is going to be, kind of an overhaul there, but you're overhauling it with elite talent more so than any other position on the roster. I think 3 is a good number for that. I'd bank on Bryce Young winning the Heisman this weekend.
Yeah.
Is that an easy one, Olin? Low-hanging fruit?
I think that's about as
I think he won it.
He
won it against Georgia last week.
He did.
And Aiden Hutchinson's had a great year. Where were y'all at on the Will Anderson should be in New York conversation?
You know, somebody gets left out. You know, they typically.
Yeah, but C.J. Stroud wasn't even the best player on his own offense.
Well, you can say that for sure, but you know what? He had a really good game in his last game. It wasn't on him.
I would have liked to have seen, and Kenneth Walker was the best player on a okay team.
I think when you go out in your most high profile game and rush for 30 yards.
Well, let's talk about a couple of these kids that you did sign because you can talk about them now. And I think one of the main attractions when you got to College Station, or one of the bigger hits that you were able to pull in, was Jace LaViolette out of Katy Tompkins. When you went in there and you watched his game, big physical, left-handed hitting outfielder, what'd you like about him? Why'd you feel like you had to get him to College Station?
Yeah, well, Jace, certainly, I've been watching him for a long time, long before I came to Texas A&M. He, as a young player, you know, when you watch those best 12 teams, he was a part of that, and then he completely changed his body, you know, through his hard work and just maturing. And unfortunately, I know he committed to LSU, and then when we hired Nolan. And there were changes at LSU. You know, I think there started to be some thought processes. Let's just wait and see how this plays out. And then he came over and spent some time with us. And I just really like, number one, left-handed hitters. You know, don't want all left-handed hitters, but you got to have balance in your lineup and just pure athleticism. And anytime you can combine that pure athleticism with power, then obviously you have a special player. You have a high-risk player. In terms of the draft, but you know, that's not something that scares me off or scares us off. But Jace is he's a unique personality. He's a guy that when he gets here, I think, you know, he's going to be super popular among his teammates, super popular among our fan base, and I think he play all 3 outfields. You know, I know he's played some first base in the past. I'd hate to have him play that unless we have to, but I mean, he's an example. Maybe not that high. You're not going to find that guys like that are that tall very often, but he's certainly a highlight of that class. And his personality alone is just something. I can't wait to get him here because he's fun to be around.
And you do have a lot of versatility in this class. I'm looking at a guy like Lucas Kelly out of California, a place where you had a lot of success at TCU, but also a local kid in Blake Benderup who has I've seen a ton at College Station High there. Real sock in the bat, but also a high-level projectable arm.
Yeah, we're planning on him, number one, being a frontline pitcher, no doubt about it. I mean, I don't ever want to. First of all, I think he's about 6'5", 6'6". I don't ever want to go to the mound and be looking down on the pitcher. unless he's left-handed. I'm not that tall. I like big physical pitchers. And
So, David, last night was a pretty historic night at Reed Arena as Gary Blair became the winningest basketball coach in Texas A&M history, surpassing the legendary Shelby Metcalf with his 439th career victory as the head coach of the Aggies. Of course, number 18 Texas A&M blew out Texas Southern last night, 88-43. 4 players in double digits. Kayla Wells, 25 points. She was a perfect 4 for 4 from three-point range. Kadasha Hoppy, 14 points. Nixon had 12, and Aaliyah Patty had 10. The Aggies will be back in action on Sunday. They'll travel to Fort Worth to face the TCU Horned Frogs. They are 3-4 on the year. Tip-off set for 1:00 p.m. It'll be streamed on ESPN Plus. So that is the paid subscription service. Speaking of the Horned Frogs, Texas A&M's men's basketball team will be in Houston tomorrow. A Saturday evening showdown with the TCU Horned Frogs as part of the Battleground 2K21 tournament. To tournament showcase, one of those words works, at the Toyota Center, home of the Houston Rockets. Tip-off is 5:30 p.m. Central Time. It'll be televised on the SEC Network. Their first game in 11 days, David. I know Logan was talking about it on radio yesterday. A little bit worried about the rust being knocked off, but I'm sure Buzz will have them ready to go.
You know, that's the thing. Coaches, we joked about it on the air. They just love the coach. So for him, that's all good. Players want to get out there and play.
So you've got the men against TCU on Saturday and the women against TCU on Sunday. In football news, the all-conference and all-American accolades have been continuing to roll in for the Maroon and White. 5 Aggies on the coaches' all-SEC team. Kenyon Green and DeMarvin Leal, first-team selections. Isaiah Spiller, Jalen Weidermeyer, and Nick Constantino, second-team selections. And then they had a league-high 5 freshmen elected to the all-SEC freshman team this week. Ruben Fothery, Bryce Foster, Shamar Turner, Edgerrin Cooper, and Tyreek Chappelle. And then last night, Kenyon Green and DeMarvin Leal were named second-team All-American selections on the Walter Camp All-American team. So congratulations to all those players. Of course, got the Gator Bowl coming up on New Year's Eve. And then, David, the last thing I've got for you is Equestrian. 4 Aggies have been named SEC Riders of the Month. Texas A&M was a perfect 3-0 in November. You had Caitlin Lovingfoss was the Fences Rider of the Month. She was a 2-time Most Outstanding Performer this month. Caroline Dance earned Flat Rider of the Month. She was a perfect 3-0 and was also a 2-time Most Outstanding Performer. Mackenzie Chapman earned Horsemanship Rider of the Month. She's 6-0 on the season, and she was named Most Outstanding Performer in Texas A&M's upset of Georgia. And then Melina Lopez earned the title of Reigning Rider of the Month, a perfect 2-0 record in November. Texas A&M's currently ranked number 2 in the country, 6-1 on the year, 3-0 in SEC play. They'll be back in January when they face Baylor. David?
Yep. There'll come a point in their life, even if they go to the pros for a little bit, where they look back and go, man, I wish I could play one more game in that uniform.
Billy, and it's also a relevant game and a relevant role because beyond Kenyon, Isaiah, potentially DeMarvin, beyond the obvious first, second rounders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys may have to wait years to play significant football.
True.
Like you're going to be on the bench, you're going to be on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them may, but like this is a huge matchup with a national audience where you matter.
Jay Sternberger, Travion Williams, Tyrell Dodson are all examples of that. And those guys are my dudes. Like, I stay in touch with all 3 of them. But that's idiotic. Somebody's playing a Vuvuzela? How's it called?
Vuvuzela,
yeah.
Soccer thing.
Somebody's going to be wearing that thing in a minute when we go in there. I'm going to put you in charge.
All right, I got you.
All right. You have a tighter shirt on.
No,
maybe
not today.
Not today for once. But I think, those guys like Travion could have come back and been a Heisman contender. He passed on. He hasn't got his break yet with the Bengals. Jace is bounced around. Unfortunately, he's on like his 3rd team. He was a Mackey finalist, could come back and shattered every record and maybe won the Mackey, gone higher, and both of them could have gone higher in the draft. I got Travion's decision because he touched the ball 250 times as a senior. And then, Dodson came out early, went undrafted. Love the fact that he is stuck on the full roster with Buffalo, but that could have easily gone another way, but he hasn't played a ton yet. And so it is like you said. These guys could have to wait a while before really being playing a key role on a football.
I'm gonna give you one more just to consider, and you may disagree. Kellen Mond. Had Kellen Mond stayed another year, we're talking probably not an 8-4 team, probably a little bit better, and potentially one of the, I don't know, where would he rank in this quarterback class? I don't know.
Tough one.
Because he's a third rounder.
I'm not going to agree with you from the standpoint of it would have been his fifth year of starting, and he did go in the third, and I don't know how much higher, like draft-wise, my professional opportunity, that was probably his peak. But, yeah, like he and those O-linemen. Now, Dan Moore's starting for the Steelers.
Right.
Carson Green, Jared Hocker, Ryan McCollum, again, they all have their reasons. I get, like, McCollum's married. He'd had back issue, but had two of those linemen and Kellen come back? Is this team in the playoff?
With NIL money?
Is this team number one? Alabama's number one right now. A&M beat Bama as is. With not Kellen, not Haynes, but Zach. And I'm doing this because it was the natural pecking order. Yeah. Zach was incredible in that game. I don't know who would have played better, to be honest, but it was Kellen was your return. It would have been a fifth-year starter. Then you would have, Haynes won the starting job, and it was Zach, and they still beat him. So, yeah, I think A&M was that close against those three. There's a chance they're 11-1, if not undefeated this year.
Do me a favor, folks. Like, subscribe, all the stuff you're supposed to do. Comment, share. By now, if you're watching to the end of this video, you've heard it over and over. If it's the first time you've watched the entire video, why have you waited so long? Thank you so much for watching. It's TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile.